Ceja Festa. Welcome to language class. Today is the first day back for our spring break. Hooray! We're gonna go over our syllabus. Reminder, this is just our cut and paste syllabus, so it does say winter 2019 or whatever on it. It's just the last time we updated the syllabus. As you see, we have tables and chairs. We have up to 12 people for in-live classes. So subtract the 4 of us. So that will be 8 people available to take the classes. Today's classes are from 1 to 2. We'll kind of start around 1:20-ish, but we'll try to get everybody online first by 1 o'clock. And anybody here? So how this is a hybrid class. So the people here will get to ask questions, and I'll make sure to look up at the screen over on this side to get if anybody here wanted to be a part of the conversation. Outside of that, questions? Let's go right into the language program. I am not going to read this. I will scroll it down. Pretty much, this is welcoming for our community class. If you just want to come and use the language, or if you want to do a teacher certification, we can get you certified through a resolution, or if you just want to do this with language proficiency or the school classes. Each classes will be doing a well, to get tested for your proficiency or teacher certification, you're going to be doing some immersion eventually, full immersion for up to like 3 hours. But for this case, we're just going to focus in on language use. And this down here is the criteria on what it'll take to be a language, to get your teacher certification and to get your proficiency certification. Very specifically driven and very specifically used. Down here at the bottom are our 2 resolution numbers for Soxhawtl Indian Tribe. For employees of the Soxhawtl Indian Tribe, you have an hour every day to participate in language classes. And that one is the first one, which is language sovereignty. And then the next resolution is the approval of our teacher certification program. Now, you can look those up, or you can ask me for copies of the things. We'll be able to get into that. But again, very specific use of language, establishing a language nest, the ability to use conversational Lushootseed, and the amount of time you speak Lushootseed on a daily basis. Now, I know this is getting complicated, and this is going to get very boring very quickly. Language use is just is also the time. So A and D are pretty much similar. It's just that we're going to check on how much time you are able to do that. Now, establishing a language nest. Now, there are 2 forms of language nests. There is the language nest for the daycare, right? You nest the children in the language. That's not what we're doing here. What we are doing here is we are providing a nest for the language, right? Daycare, kids, language, kids. So when we're doing the language nest, we don't want to add in the dominant language. So anytime you're doing your language nest or language activity, you want to do it all in the language and get English out one syllable at a time, one word at a time. And it's very effective. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from all of us. The Maori people first initiated this program, and they have been really successful at language revitalization. The next group would also have been before the Maoris, which are those? Who are those dudes? They have yarmulkes anyway. They were able to revitalize their language in this fashion as well. And those are the things that we're going to be testing on. Oh, the conversational Lushootseed. Basic conversations. Where did you go? Who did you see? What did you buy? What did you eat? What did you drink? What do you like? What do you don't like? What did he or she say? You know, all the fun conversational stuff. It doesn't have to be fancy. We're just gonna use what we have. And then again, language nest. What we're going to be doing with that one is we're going to be washing our hands, every part of the laundry, and putting clothes on, take clothes off, putting them in the pile, bringing the pile down and washing them, drying them, separating the clothes out, and then folding and then putting away the clothes. That's pretty much all we're going to be doing for the language activities. Now, we're also going to add in washing our hands and setting the table and all this other fun stuff. Yeah, it's Kara. And this language program is really designed for people to jump in and out of class. So if you really want to show up late, it is completely fine. If you want to leave a little early, it's completely fine. We're kind of more of a community class. So eventually down the road, we're going to get teachers. Eventually down the road, we're going to get more language proficiency tests. But right now, we're just trying to get our base grown and more community buy-in for this program. And we're just going over the welcome to language class. We're going to be going over the syllabus and other things. Today's kind of a boring day.
Oh.
Intro day.
Intro day.
Okay.
I used to love intro days. I didn't think they were boring.
I'm the one that thinks they're boring.
I like them. Hello.
So this is our self-study course, self-guided study for Lushootseed 2021. And again, it says Winter Syllabus 2015. This is our syllabus from 2015. It was just readapted to what we have now. And course objectives. Again, I really don't want to do verbatim with this stuff. It's identifying places in our language for our homes, the relationships we have with our family, our workspaces and lives, all that kind of fun stuff.
That was good, but it made me cold.
To increase this amount of space that we use our language. So pretty much we're going to grow our language nests, and then amount of time we're going to use on Lushootseed pretty much we're just going to focus on Lushootseed time on how much we can. And then we do have some projects for the new ones to Lushootseed. I'm going to throw this out to you. I'm going to say we're not going to really need to learn the alphabet, but it's a good idea to start getting used to and accustomed to the alphabet. So if you want, I can email you the alphabet that we have, and it's just a good idea to look at it and try to find out and exercise your muscles, because Lushootseed is a new set of muscles that you're not going to be used to. Okay, so we got, I don't even think it's 9 weeks. We got 4, 5, 6, 7.
Email them to say what?
9. Yeah, 9. Yeah, there's 9. There's 9 weeks. Never mind. We got 3 projects for this time. The first project is Reclaim a New Language Activity, or it's where we start building our language nest, right? And
I'm gonna
building.
let mine fall apart.
Your language nest.
And then
I need to start that project all over again.
so in building this language nest, it's just a place where you don't want to speak English, right? It's a place you make in your own house. You have control of you and your space. So take control of your space and say, okay, right here, I'm not going to speak English. Alta English is okay here, and Lushootseed is okay. But where la pasta decided altidisha, eh? You got to think about yourself in that situation. Okay, right here, altia,
Altiaria.
altiaria.
I know Altiaria.
Me too.
So you got to think of yourself in that terms and hold yourself to that. So right here, I'm not going to speak any English, right? Okay, it's for me, it's not going to be right here, but you get the gist. But in this case, pick your bathroom. No one really can tell you what you're doing in the bathroom, right? I mean, you might be able to tell your kids what they can and can't do, but as far as anybody telling you what you can and can't do in the bathroom, I mean, seriously. Now, if you have family, try to get them in together, try to get them buying in on this, right? If the more you get them to buy in, or in this case, because we have kids in our house, we're just going to tell them what to do because we're the adults, right? So go ahead and say, this spot right here is for our language. We're going to build our language nest here, and you're not going to use any English. And then post reminders up. No English here. And then a positive seat on the other side of the paper, right? So you're going to want to print out papers and post them up and say, okay, this is a no English zone, right? So that when you have people come over, they'll see that and they're like, huh, what do you mean no English zone? Yeah, there's a no English zone. So hold yourself to it. You really don't have to force them to do it if they don't want to do it. And that's how come I'm saying the bathroom is like the best place, because they really can't tell you what to do in your own bathroom, right? Now, if you have control over your entire house, by all means, select a room if you don't feel comfortable with the bathroom. If you feel more comfortable with the bedroom or the kitchen, it's a place where you go normally. So pick a place that you'll spend at least 5 minutes a day in, right? So that you can revitalize your language. if you're not a cook, don't choose the kitchen, right?
That's where I went wrong. That's
You're honest about it.
Well, he was like, if you're not a cook, I was like, yeah, that's true.
Because it won't work if you're not in it, right? So you got to pick a place where you have control and dominance over that you can say, okay, this is where I'm going to be, and this is where I'm going to start reusing this language, right? Pick a place where you really, really want to start using it. Although I do have to warn you, do not make it your car. Do not make it your living room, front room chair, because you will not be able to listen to the radio unless it's in a different language. You won't be able to watch TV unless it's in a different language. You're trying to revitalize your language. So kick all the other languages out and try to make sure it's your language there. Or your target language. So it doesn't have to be Lushootseed. You can use what I'm using for your revitalization efforts, right? And you don't have to use just Lushootseed. And here's our steps on how we do it, okay? So definitely make yourself a spot where you only speak the target language, right? All right, so that has been said and beaten to death.
Yep.
This is our language activities project. This is what we just went over. It involves a lot of self-narration. In this self-narration, you're going to pick up grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and your confidence in the language, right? This, again, like I said, you cannot be told you're saying things wrong in your own language, right? In your own space, right? Because that's your space. You're in control of that language, all right? Even if you do mispronunciate it, you're still not saying it wrong, right? Even if you say chuff or chuch instead of chuff, right? You're still saying it, you're still using it. And give yourself that permission to say the words wrong so that you can correct yourself again later. Right?
Self-correction is a key to learning.
Self-correction is the key to this learning style. I will definitely be in my best language as possible. Again, I am human. I make mistakes. I definitely mispronunciate stuff. I definitely was taught Southern Lushootseed first before I learned Northern Lushootseed. Although this is a Northern Lushootseed class with Northern Lushootseed, we're also going to speak our brethren Southern Lushootseed, primarily because we have relations down there in the Southern Lushootseed, right? Well, I have relations down in my Southern Lushootseed people. And then in this language activity, your grammar is going to get increased. We're going to break it down eventually. We're going to build vocabulary. But we're not going to focus in on this. We're going to focus in on the use of the language and then kind of explaining the vocabulary and grammarly whenever we get to a chance to do it, right? But we're going to focus in on kind of pronunciation. I will definitely reiterate it over and over and over again. As well as our lovely folks here would probably reiterate it over and over again. But we're going to try to use it, right? That's the key. Use of the language in this area only, get English out, right? All right, now off to our conversational project. Our conversational project is what it is what it says. We're gonna have a conversation time. Try to get a hold of me at least 2 minutes a day until like midterms, and then we'll go into about like 5 minutes a day ish after midterms, and then maybe 15 minutes a day once we get closer towards the end. Maybe, you know, you don't have to do the 2 minutes every day. It's just try to use the language. It doesn't have to be with just me. It can be with Katie. It could be with Stephanie. It could be with Norma. It could be with your neighbor or your buddy, as long as they know Lushootseed and you can speak to them. Try to shoot for that 2 minutes a day in the language. Conversational Lushootseed. Now, it can be just how are you doing today? What do you feel like? But those are very short questions. They don't take long to answer. And our goal is to make that as big as possible, right? So in that respect, what did you want to say? And who did you want to say it to, right? Figure out what you want to say and who you want to say it to and how you're going to say it. Those all have key components in this project here. If you want, you can write down your questions that you want to ask, but remember, you got to be able to use it every day, not just once in a while with this one person that not once in a while I see with this one person that comes in once a month, right? That you got to be able to see them every day, and that's the goal and purpose. You can call me up anytime. It'll be on our handouts. It'll be on my emails I send out. Anytime we can use Lushootseed. I'm open for that. All right. Now, you can also talk to your classmates and your coworkers or even your dog. I had a colleague of mine talk to his cat a lot, right? And that's what he did. Now, in this case, what we're primarily going to be saying is, where did you go? All right, where did you want to say, where did you go? Where you went. If you got places like Everett and Seattle and Port Gamble or Bellingham, I like using the tribal places next to them and or near them or in them, like Seattle, Duwamish, right? Yeah. Well, Seattle also has its own name too, right? There's also places like Everett that has its own name, and places like Mount Vernon has their own name. Mind the history on those, but they have their own name. Bellingham has its own name outside of the tribe that's next to it. Or if nothing else fails, you know, just say the English word. At this point in time, I give you permission to use Lushootseed-ish, right? You know, like Spanglish, right? Lushootseed-ish, half Lushootseed, half English. At this point in time, because you're not in your nest, you could use English and Lushootseed. And because your nest isn't quite filled up yet, don't force yourself to stay in the language the entire time. Just make sure that's your goal, is to stay in the language that entire time. So like I said, we're kicking the language out one syllable at a time, one word at a time, one sentence at a time. And then eventually that nest will be big enough to hold you. And then you can use your language the entire time there. Now, again, language nest would be different than our language use, right? Our conversational language. Conversational language, how are you? Who did you see? What did you eat? Where did you go? What did you drink? who did you talk to? What did they say? What do you like? What do you don't like? You know, very basic conversational things we have. We have those nine questions and answers ready to go. So pick one of those, 1 out of 9 and 1 through 9. We'll eventually get through all by the time the year ends. And we can start testing people out for our teacher certifications. All right. So don't let that discourage you, because you're going to be saying Spanglish for the first time. And again, the Lushootseed text, I kind of want you to get to know Lushootseed text, but it's not a really definite, you need to learn the text, right? Because we're going to focus in on the use rather than grammar and pronunciation and the whoop-de-doos about the language. We want you to use the language rather than learn about the language. Language use, about the language, right? We got a lot of people who studied about the language. There's not a lot of people using the language. And this class helps you get from knowing about the language to using the language, right? Now, in this, you will gain the knowledge to make your own sentence. You'll be able to say, oh, I want to go to the movies, right? Eventually, you're going to be able to talk that way. Eventually, you're going to be like, oh, man, I do not like something, right? Eventually, you're going to be able to do that. Eventually, we'll be able to have arguments, right? But at this point, though, we're going to go take tiny baby steps forward and going to continue using our language conversation and our language use, our language activities, right? Now, I'm using the word language activities. If you have seen my desktop, it does still say domains. People keep misinterpreting domains, so I do not use the word domains anymore. All right. So you're going to want to pick a domain this week. Pick a language activity place, right? A place where you want to build your nest. And write down everything you do in that nest, right? And you're gonna want to know that I have a lot of nests picked out for the house. It is nearly next to impossible to get the couch in your living room into the language, because you watch TV on the couch. Unless you want to stand while watching TV, that is not a good nest zone. If you're going to try to get into the car, unless you have tapes and CDs and everything you need to get English out of that nest, don't try to make it just in the car, all right? So pick places where English can get kicked out completely and you have full control of it, so that no one can tell you what to do in your language activities. 2 priorities, right? All right, and then if I don't have the translations, make sure to get on me and email me, and I will definitely get back to you and give you feedback. But I do have a lot of the things. So the dining room table, I can totally get that in Lushootseed. The bathroom, totally easy to do. The bedroom is kind of one of those iffy zones. If you need to listen to those self-narrations while sleeping, it'll be difficult to do, not impossible. The kitchen, oh, that one's fun. That one has a million domains. Let me tell you, if you know how to cook, I can get you cooking in Lushootseed pretty quickly. If you're in a classroom, now language immersion is primarily your best bet for classrooms, because you're going to need to switch from Lushootseed to English. Now, language immersions is when you immerse your time, and it's a time-orientated classes, not specific location classes, time-located classes. So So say from 1 to 2 is your language immersion, right? That's where you're going to get immersed into language between 1 and 2. That is not the language nest. So language nest is where you nest the language, or you nest the kids in the language. It's just one of those things. But we're going to focus in on language nest, where we're going to nest the language, not the children. In doing so, anybody who gets in the nest is going to get immersed in the nest, right? Whenever they want to show up and they're going to get into your language nest, they can get immersed in the language nest. See, somewhere you have control. All right, so make sure to email me. I'm at language@sockswaddle.com on what you want to do for your language nest, and then we can go from there. And then our conversational Lushootseed. Now, set an appointment up with me to have a conversation for about 2 minutes. Try to shoot for every day, but it could be 2 minutes a week at this point in time. I will be okay with 2 minutes a week. And then decide what kind of conversation you want to have. Your final will be with that final conversation. Finals, midterms. No? Okay. So, write down the same things that you want to say in Lushootseed, and then we can have the conversational go with that one. And then practice. Practice time every day. That's that 2 minutes. 2-minute practice every day, at least for a conversation. Again, if you only talk to your dog or you talk to a tree or something, that is completely fine as long as you're trying to have that conversation. Just like your language nest, as long as you're using your nest, it is good. All right. And again, I don't want to stress Lushootseed text, but if you could go through the alphabet and say the alphabet by the end of the quarter, great. It'll help, but it's not going to improve your language use. Only using the language is going to improve your language use. All right. So that's our first week. Try to schedule at least 2 minutes with me if you can. Second week, same stuff as before. Maybe some of the older stuff. Try to teach something to your classmates. Try to add new stuff to your language conversations, and same as above, just try to get familiar with the thing. Week 3 is primarily going to be the same thing. You're just going to keep adding on if you can. If we're not, it's going to be fine. Weeks 4 through 8, midterms to finals. Again, midterms. They can be word scrambles, multiple choice, translations from English to Lushootseed, and then maybe animal names if we get a chance to. But that's only if we start using animals. Again, it'll be all multiple choice. It'll be pretty simple. That's just to gauge on what I need to do better at teaching. So don't freak out about test. When I say the word test, we're primarily going to have a party and we're going to try to use the language as much as we can. It's not going to be. Okay, so the finals, truthfully, you set up with me or anybody in this room for your language test. We'll explain our language tests when we get around to it. If you want to participate in the language teacher certification or the language proficiency certification, in which case we'll get you set up with that test later on, and we'll explain those tests. Those two tests are somewhat difficult. You're required 15 language activities in one area, plus 15 minutes of conversational time. And then we'll get you your first level. Now there are 3 levels. The next level gets a lot harder, which you get about 25 to 50 language activities in one spot. And you have working on your next one. And then you are also having a conversation for about an hour. And then the level 3, you do everything that you did before, plus have 3 language activity places or a language nest site in 3 different places in your house. And you have a conversation up to hour and a half, and you're able to do a full immersion class for 3 hours, right? Now, these tests aren't done by yourself. You can take it with multiple people and getting up to that hour or 3 hours of language immersion rather quickly. And that's our goal, is for people to use the language rather than know about the language. We don't want the people focusing on the grammar and how the words are formed and how's everything said and sounded correctly. We want people to use our language. Use the language, right?
We'll focus more on grammar after you've been using it for a good maybe 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll start saying, okay, well, this is what you're saying, but I think you need to say it like this. So we'll eventually get there. It's just, we're not going to get there right away. Right now, we just need to be comfortable using it and being surrounded in it and get comfortable seeing our language around our home. So it's just reintroducing ourselves to it again.
Right. And then here's some resource guides. If you look up on Amazon, or I like using the Lushootseedresearch.org/books, and then look at all those books. Those are really good research sites, right? And then if you want the keyboard to type in your language, you have the options for that. I use the Language Geek, and I need to look underneath the Salishan languages. And underneath the Salishan languages, you look for Lushootseed. We are a sub-dialect of the Salishan language. We are a Salishan people in Lushootseed. Salishan languages cover up from Bella Bella all the way down to it starts with the C. It's down there by Chehalis. Said it. Chehalis or Tillamook is another Salishan language. I forgot Tillamook. Tillamook is in there in Oregon, Northern Oregon. They are also a Salishan dialect. So from Tillamook to Bella Bella, all the way to Montana, and this place called Salish tribe is also all Salish. That's our people there. Now, excluding the Ichishkeen people, so you think a Salish goes like this around the Ichishkeen people. The Ichishkeen people are from Yakima parts of Colville, and was Colville? Maybe Colville, but definitely Yakima, down into Oregon and Idaho. All of that stuff in that corner is Ichishkin people, which is a different dialect altogether. But us here in the Salishan languages, like I said, from Bella Bella down to Tillamook, and kind of like a triangle-ish thing, is our Salishan people. And we are a subdialect called Lushootseed. Lushootseed is from Mount Baker down to Mount Rainier, and then out to the Salish Sea, and on the other side a little bit. And then at the far end of the Salish Sea is all Lushootseed territory. Now, Tawan is a very, very close cousin to Lushootseed, like brother and sister languages even. Tawan languages very, very, very close. Lushootseed to the Salish Strait languages, not so much. So Salish Strait languages, anything inside the straits of Strait of Juan de Fuca or the Strait of God, what is that other strait called? I'm just right now.
Strait of Georgia.
Yeah, Strait of Georgia. There's a lot of tribes in those areas. They cover a lot of the water, but they speak straight Salish, which is completely different than Lushootseed. And then further north you go from that, it goes into like Hulkla and into different languages all up together. If you want to do more research on your Salishan languages, go ahead and Google or wiki that. By all means. Again, you really don't have to have a Lushootseed dictionary. You can look up Lushootseedresearch.org. They will have an online dictionary that you can just click the English to Lushootseed. But I do have to remind you, be careful on trying to translate directly from that. It is not all accurate. You have to make sure that what the word is before you try to use that from English to Lushootseed, because English to Lushootseed does not always equal the same thing. And more to that point, if I were to say, how are you, right?
Mhm.
In English, that is how are you. That really doesn't mean es chal cha, but that is what we use it. This one is how are you feeling? How is your hutch, right? More importantly than just how are you, which would be just a blank generic term. It's more specific. It's like doing a 10 times zoom in on how are you, right? It's very specific. And then even when we even have our thank yous and goodbye, there is no please. Please is not said in Lushootseed. Please is the cultural term on what is not said. It is always assumed please. Can I please get some help? Abyeets chup at Koopy. Will you hand me the coffee, please? But in nowhere in that sentence is please. Please is applied with the culture. So culture and the language go hand to hand, right? All right. I don't want to get in too much in that because that gets difficult. Single ring note cards, composition books, pens. Here's my contact information. At the end of the semester, we will be having a pizza and sandwich party. That is on June 11th, I said. Pretty sure I said June 11th. Classes are Monday through Friday, 1 to 2. If we have any federal holidays, we're not going to be here for language classes. If there's any tribal holidays, we will not be having language classes. And administration leaves, unfortunately, I will try to make sure to send out an email if we don't have, if we do have admin leaves. I will definitely try to make sure that everybody knows. It might be that minute on where like, all right, call admin day, and I'll be like, okay, let me finish this class first. It might be actually one of those things. And then again, 12 people here, ex-nay the 4 people that are here, which that makes it about 8 people here at this language class live if you want to be here. Again, I will have pizzas and sandwiches like we did last time. And then that whole week of June 11th is going to be for testing for the language. So know that from June 7th through the 11th, there will be no language classes. There will be language testing. We were just going to be going over what we went through this entire time. And then if anybody wants to take the test for the language teacher certification or the language proficiency, will we be doing it at that time? All right, is there any comments, concerns, or questions? Sorry for the very, very fun talk day. That will be all. I'm going to stop the recordings.